They'd call me down and say, oh, we need you to come play guitar in a song. And I go home, and then I get called down again, and they're like, oh, come down and play. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. I already played this song, and it just kept happening that way. It's like, what the is going on here?
Check, 1, 2. Check. 1, 2, check.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the American Spy Fox. Welcome to the channel. You may be wondering what that clip was all about. Pat Smear talking about being called down to an LA studio to re-record songs he'd previously recorded for the Foo Fighters. It all ties into the recent controversy over Josh Freese's dismissal from Foo Fighters. We'll be seeing some more clips from an early Foo Fighters documentary. Two things have happened. Number one, originally Josh Freese, when he announced on Instagram that he had been let go by Dave Grohl, he said, stay tuned for a top 10 list of reasons why I think I got booted from the Foo Fighters. Now, at the time, I thought he was just joking. I didn't know he was actually going to release a top 10 list, but he did. And I read it and I realized some of them are a bit cryptic, but if you know enough about Dave's history and Josh Freese's history and about drumming, you can see that there is venom in his words. We can discern what he's saying to the world, and a lot of it about Dave Grohl publicly. He's very upset, and quite frankly, who can blame him? He's one of the most sought after drummers in the industry, having recorded on over 400 records. Josh Freese is the guy that you call when your band is in the studio and for whatever reason your drummer cannot get something perfect. Maybe he's drank too much booze or some girls in the studio are distracting him. Whatever his problem is, Josh Freese is the guy you hire to make your album perfect. So it has nothing to do with drumming, his release. It has to be personal. And boy, does Josh Freese get personal in his top 10 list. There are definitely some jabs at Dave Grohl, and we're going to go over the whole list. I'm going to explain the hidden meanings. And quite honestly, you don't have to dig that far under the surface to understand what he's saying. Again, as long as you have some history on Grohl and know a little bit about drumming. Speaking of Grohl's history, let's go ahead and talk about the original Foo Fighters drummer who was also dismissed from the band, so everybody's on the same page. William Goldsmith. Once upon a time, William Goldsmith was probably Dave Grohl's biggest fan, but it didn't take very long for Dave to turn into his biggest regret. You see, William and his friends from high school were in a band signed to Sub Pop Records called Sunny Day Real Estate. Now, if you've never listened to Sunny Day Real Estate, you're missing out. They're a badass band from the 90s. Dave Grohl also knew that they were a badass band with a very talented rhythm section. Being an insider in the music industry, it was easy for Dave to hear about inside information. After all, Nirvana had once been signed to Sub Pop. Dave hears that Sunny Day Real Estate is on their last tour. Not only their last tour, but their last show is coming up. The band, for whatever reason, was falling apart, going on hiatus.
My band was falling apart at about the same time that Dave found himself without a band.
And it was ironic because that was the first tour that we were playing shows where people were actually showing up.
At the same time, Dave Grohl has these songs for what would become the first Foo Fighters record, but he has no fellow musicians to tour and play the songs with him. Dave sees it as an opportunity because this band has a badass rhythm section. He goes to the last show with the intentions of stealing the bassist Nate Mendel and drummer William Goldsmith. This is a band built off friendship. These guys went to high school together, but it's not like they're going to say no to the guy from Nirvana.
And I was watching them thinking, that's a really good rhythm section. I gave them the cassette thinking like, hey, check it out. Maybe we could jam sometime.
Dave was the first famous person I'd ever met. You know, he's just out of Nirvana, you know, like that was a very big deal.
And he decides to ask bassist Nate Mendel and drummer William Goldsmith to jump ship, forget about Sunny Day Real Estate, come be with me, do this Foo Fighters thing with me. As we all know, as history will tell us, they did. They forgot about their old band, they do this new thing with Dave Grohl, and they're very quickly thrown into the rock star lifestyle. They no longer have to worry about their next meal, whether they're going to have gas to get to the next show, Dave has made so much money playing in Nirvana that he finances their tours. In the end, that decision would work out perfectly for bassist Nate Mendel, whom I personally witnessed being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alongside Taylor and Dave and the rest of the members of the Foo. But as for Nate's old friend and drummer, William Goldsmith, it was a different story. A story that has recently caused him to show compassion for the newest drummer dismissed from the Foo Fighters, Josh Freese.
Constantly, there was this feeling that whatever song we were working on, Dave had a drum part for it already.
When I've written a song, I have kind of a clear idea of where the basic root accents should lie. That's a fancy way of saying I know what the drums should sound like.
You're the drummer for a band where your singer is the greatest rock and roll drummer in the world, looking over your shoulder, waiting for him to do it as good as him. That's just fucked up pressure. I mean, regardless of how good you are or whatever it is, it's just fucked up pressure. And remember that William was a kid. I mean, he was really young.
What sucked about all that, you know, I mean, I don't think maybe the drum performances were the best. They weren't horrible.
They'd call me down and say, oh, we need you to come play guitar in a song. And I go home, and then I get called down again, and they're like, oh, come down and play. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. I already played this song, and it just kept happening that way. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then it just ended up like, wait a minute, we're just doing this whole album over. I just remember asking someone, does William know?
William's still up in Seattle, so he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know that this is happening.
I was like, you know, what's going on? Should I, book me a flight down there? I should go down. I should be down there. And then Dave calls me and he was like, dude, don't come down here. Why? And he goes, I'm redoing a couple of the drum tracks. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I met with Nate. So I said, what's going on? And Dave's redoing a couple of the tracks. And he goes, is that what he told you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, he redid them all. I don't know whether it was management, the record company, Gil, all the above, Dave, that wanted him to play drums and didn't want me to play drums or whatever, but him redoing the drum parts has never been explained to me.
Personally, I've listened to William Goldsmith drum compared to Dave Grohl's drumming of the same songs, and I can hardly tell a difference. I have a lot of compassion for William Goldsmith. He was making it with his friends in Sunny Day Real Estate. They fall apart, then suddenly this second chance comes, they are making it, and then it's taken away. Now, as you can imagine, just as I have compassion for William Goldsmith has compassion for Josh Freese. He's walked a mile in Josh's shoes, and he took to Instagram with the recent dismissal of Josh to say this. Goldsmith took to Instagram. Say what? Why? For playing everything not only perfectly, but going above and beyond what most are remotely capable of? I apologize, but respectfully, this makes absolutely no sense to me. He would later double down, saying, I don't see anything wrong with being such a profoundly great musician, a total professional, reliable in every sense of the word, from what I can tell, and going above and beyond what most drummers are even capable of. Baffles my mind. So you may be thinking Josh Freese's top 10 list, that's old news. That was 2 weeks ago. But did you read the top 10 list? I don't think any journalist actually took the time to sit and think about what Josh is saying and tried to analyze these comments and reveal their cryptic meanings. If you know about Dave's history, Josh's history, and some about drumming, you can see that these are very clearly venomous words. These are passive-aggressive public jabs at Dave Grohl, and we're going to analyze them and decipher their cryptic meaning right now. I committed myself to you guys for 2 years and you let me go with a phone call? What? Because that's where the interesting part is. Let's get into it. Granted, a couple of them I couldn't really find a meaning, like number 10. Once whistled my hero for a week solid on tour. Perhaps Josh wanted to start the list out with something nice, saying it's a memorable song, so not every comment is a jab at Dave Grohl, but he gets right into it with number 9. Could only name one Fugazi song. Now, if you don't know Dave Grohl's history, he came up in the DC hardcore era of hardcore punk. Scream was often at Fugazi shows. Fugazi was often at Scream shows. Dave was obsessed with Fugazi. Fugazi is to punk hardcore in DC as the Melvins is to grunge in Seattle. They're the granddaddies. You gotta pay them respect. And Josh Freese is saying, sorry Dave, didn't like Fugazi. That's definitely a jab at Dave. By the way, any of you Fugazi fans, I couldn't get into them because they were known to stop their shows if anyone was slam dancing or moshing. Any tiniest hint of violence, they would stop the show. Right in the middle of a song, they would just stop and refuse to continue playing until people settled down. It was like pacifist hippies playing hardcore punk. It made no sense to me. It was a contradiction. It's tradition. That's why you're there. When you're a young buck, you're coming to a live punk show to get some aggression out. I never got the whole Fugazi thing. However, Dave Grohl absolutely worshipped them. Josh Freese knew that. He's picking on Dave. He's making fun of him about it. He's basically saying, sorry, I don't fit into your circle. Number 8, 2 words, polyrhythm. So a polyrhythm is exactly what you think it is. It's 2 rhythms at the same time. Probably the king of polyrhythms, Danny Carey from Tool, and Josh Freese, A Perfect Circle. Only the most technical drummers can play advanced polyrhythms. This is Josh Freese telling you Dave Grohl's music is very simple. It's basic 4/4 drumming, and Dave cannot do a polyrhythm. He didn't like it that I was bringing a more advanced technical drumming into the Foo Fighters. That is a direct jab at Dave Grohl's drumming ability. For us drummers, we know Josh Freese is head and shoulders above Dave Grohl. His drum tracks for A Perfect Circle's Judith has been notably called by many publications some of the best drumming ever recorded. Here's a sample of Josh's drum tracks isolated. This dude is a phenomenal drummer, and he's poking fun at Dave Grohl's simplicity. Metronome-like precision behind the kit deemed soulless. Again, just talking about being reliable, being on time. Josh Freese is the guy you call to the recording studio to get the drum track metronome perfect. That's why he's recorded on over 400 records throughout his career. The dude is a machine. I know a lot of people say Dave Grohl's a machine, and Dave does have good metronome timing too. He's also very basic. Now, here's a thought. Did you know that Dave Grohl not only re-recorded William Goldsmith's drum tracks, he did it to Taylor Hawkins for a while too. I think the first couple albums Taylor was with the Foo Fighters, he would also record Taylor's drum track. Is it possible that Dave Grohl's ego is so big, people have been telling him for 30 years he's the best drummer in the world? Is it possible that he came across a drummer who trumps him, so he has nothing to fix and he does not like that loss of control? Number 6, demanded starting every rehearsal with a 20-minute cowbell sound bath. Number 5, and this one, again, you need to know about Dave Grohl's history. Never once even tried growing a beard. This one, it was kind of mean. I even thought it was kind of mean. Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins were once in an interview where they said that they both didn't like the structure of their face. They were very self-conscious about the structure of their face. Dave does kind of have that weird sort of like no jaw kind of thing going on, and he said in an interview that he wears a beard to keep a more prominent jawline and to sort of hide behind it. Again, I thought this one was going a little too far. I don't believe in picking on people, but picking on people for things that they can't control, things that they cannot change, it's kind of cruel. You look at Josh Freese, he's got a very prominent jawline. Dave Grohl has expressed many times that the reason he grows a beard is because he's self-conscious about his jawline, or lack thereof. Number 4. Didn't show up to studio because Mercury was in retrograde. This is one that I needed to look up. I didn't know what this meant, so I simply Googled it, and here's what we got. In astrology, Mercury retrograde means that the planet Mercury appears to move backward in the sky as seen from Earth. even though it's actually moving forward in its orbit. This is an optical illusion due to Earth's faster orbit around the sun. Astrologers believe this retrograde period, which happens 3 or 4 times a year, can bring challenges to communication, travel, technology, and overall can feel like a time of miscommunications, delays, and potential for misunderstandings. That makes complete sense. Was there some kind of misunderstanding, miscommunication going on? One thing I take from that is Freese apparently is into astrology. Number 3, promised Noodles he could be Foo Fighters' 4th guitarist. Who is Noodles, you may ask? Noodles' real name is Kevin John Wasserman. He is a guitarist in the iconic 90s punk band Offspring, or at least they were punk in the beginning. How many of you out there loved their record Smash, and then after that it was all commercial pop punk? I don't know, I felt like they had their own little subgenre of punk, and then they ruined it with these ridiculously radio-friendly commercial songs. Pretty fly for a white guy. Like, dude, you are a white guy. Why are you calling white dudes weak and stupid and naive? They turned into a parody of themselves. They started wearing FUBU jerseys. It was so cringe. It was so tacky. They ruined themselves, in my opinion, and completely alienated the fans, the audience that made them big. If you want to talk about sellouts from the 90s, Courtney Love and The Offspring should be your top 2. Sadly, I'm not sure which one would be number 1. Smash is still, to this day, one of my favorite albums. I would put it in my top 20, matter of fact, but anything after Smash, garbage. Anyway, this is Josh Freese making fun of the fact that the Foo Fighters have 3 guitarists, which is completely unnecessary. It's just a wall of guitar. That's all Foo Fighters really is. Great drums, wall of guitar. I'm not even sure why they have a bassist. You can't even hear the bass. And they don't do a lot of lead. They don't do like solos. It's not like an 80s metal shredding band. They're all playing the same thing. They're all playing rhythm. I guess I sort of understand. If you've ever listened to Butch Vig talk about producing Nevermind, how he would trick Kurt Cobain into playing guitar parts over and over. When you layer the same guitar tracks over and over, you get a much bigger sound. So maybe Dave just wanted to sound really great live, and I've seen them live, and they do sound great live. Maybe that's the purpose of the 3 guitarists. Essentially, he's just making fun of them for being so over the top. It's not like one of them is a lead. They don't have a Kirk Hammett in their band, is what I'm trying to say, and I think what Josh Freese is trying to say. Hey Dave, let's get a 4th guitarist and be even more pompous and ostentatious. Number 2, refused to perform unless he was guaranteed a Ouija board and nunchucks after every show. I can't link this to anything. I'm not sure what he's talking about, but the guys from A Perfect Circle, mainly Maynard Keenan, took his top 10 list to heart and they felt bad for him. And after a recent gig, they left a Ouija board and nunchucks in his dressing room, along with the top 10 list of why they enjoyed touring with him, just to make him feel better, right? However, we're not here for that top 10 list. Let's go on to number 1. And number 1, the whole poodle thing was getting to be a bit too much. Josh Freese has like 2, 3, 4 poodles, and he takes them everywhere. They fly with him, they come to the recording studio with him, they go on tour with him. I'm a dog guy myself. I love black labs and golden retrievers. However, Josh Freese's obsession with his poodles does go a bit far. I would see it getting annoying having these aren't little poodles. These are the big standard poodles, the big hunting dogs. Well, originally they were hunting dogs. Now, people give them nice haircuts and dress them up in bows and blah, blah, blah. Josh is a little too obsessed with his poodles. He even wears t-shirts on tour with the picture of his poodles on the shirt. I mean, I guess I could think of worse habits to have on tour, right? Like being an alcoholic or an addict. And it is kind of weird. I think this may be the only legitimate reason on his list, his self-proclaimed why I got fired list, that might legitimately have caused concern for the other guys in the band. Imagine every time you go on tour, you go in the dressing room, whatever, recording studio, there's all these dogs laying around. At first it would be fun, and then it's kind of like, okay, let's get rid of the dogs, dude. Now you're wearing t-shirts with your dog's picture on it. This is getting a little weird, Josh, I have to say. Standard poodles, like the big hunting dog poodles, they're pretty big. They're really smart dogs, and I'd love to have one myself, to tell you the truth, but they're very expensive. It would kind of get a bit distracting. Dogs require a lot of attention. If you don't believe me, she's literally on my lap every time I'm recording, like sitting there staring at me. Hey, dude, give me attention. You have to stop and feed them, take them outside, take them on walks. I think that number one is the only real reason Josh gave for why they might actually have gotten annoyed with him. And he ended it by making fun of himself, as if that makes up for all the public jabs at Dave. I hear passive aggression in this top 10 list. I don't think he did it just to be funny. Josh went on and on for days on X over this topic. When something bad happens to you and you didn't deserve it, you want other people to care. You want other people to acknowledge, yes, something bad happened to you and you didn't deserve it. And he just went on and on about it. It is clear to me that not only was he hurt by their decision to let him go with a phone call, he was also pissed off. And he wanted a bit of vengeance. He wanted to be petty and even the score. Thankfully, he wasn't so petty that he hit below the belt line and talked about the whole Dave Grohl baby mama situation. At least he didn't go that far, right? He kept it for the most part civil, which leads me to the last point I'd like to make. These are my opinions. It's speculation. I am not saying that Josh Priest confirmed any of this, but if you read in between the lines, it's pretty simple to put two and two together. In closing, I'd like to say why I really think Josh Priest was fired. Number one, they're probably going to move Taylor's son up to carry on his legacy, and they just wanted a couple years for him to develop as a musician, as a drummer, and to mature a bit more. That's not positive. That is speculative at this point. If so, they should have told Josh from the get-go that he would probably someday be replaced by Taylor's son. Apparently they did not do that. I mainly believe that firing Josh was a PR move. Let's cause even more drama surrounding the Foo Fighters. Let the fans know that we're still a band, we're still making major decisions, and let's take the focus away from Dave's baby mama drama and shift the focus to Josh. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. If you think you'd like to watch another video, hit the like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel. We've got more Chris Cornell coming up. We've got more Cobain. We got a Cobain video that's going to make Cobain fans love Cobain even more than they already do. Shit your pants when you watch this Cobain video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Check 1 2 check. Check 1 2. Check 1 2 check.